I'm Amy Califa, filmmaker of the documentary Two Angry Moms, a film that shows parents what they need to know and do to clean up their kids' school food environment. One of the hardest topics that I covered in the film was trying to explain the difference between a self-operated school food service and a school that outsources its food service to a management company. With me today to discuss the pros and cons of these two models is Bob Pritsker. Bob has degrees in both law and business, and you've also owned and operated a celebrated New York City destination restaurant, Breve. With all of these credentials, Bob, can you tell me what caused you to become, shall we say, a little bit obsessed with school food?
My boys. And I would want to give credit to Marion Nestle, whose book, Food Politics, portrayed in a chapter called Pouring Rights, how big corporations dump money, throw money at schools for advertising privileges that, according to Marion and endorsed by me, is out of bounds.
Have you been involved in the food here in our town?
Yes. I thought, since I knew food and my boys were now going to be eating in the cafeteria for their first grade year, and I should go see what's going on in the food arena. So that's what started my, let's call it an investigation, call it what it is, into the conditions that are afoot regarding how the kids are fed.
So what is the difference between what we call a self-op and a district that has a management company?
Well, it's quite simple, and nationally I would like anyone who likes statistics to know that still 85%, roughly, of all school districts are self-operated. But 15% now have been, as you said, outsourced to people whose business it is to run food service. Those businesses range far and wide. It could be athletic stadiums, it could be hospitals, it could be prisons, universities, business and industry cafeterias. And back in the, I think, late 60s, early 70s, these same companies, called food service management companies, learned of the possibility of running K through 12 food service. And therefore, like any other outsourcing arrangement, a business that feels insecure about doing it themselves may start to take an interest in these outsiders.
As a parent, I had no clue that our food service in town was outsourced till I started making the film. I just assumed it was like when I was a kid, where we had, you know, the local grandmas dishing out the food that was being made in the cafeteria.
Right. In a self-operated district, quite obviously, there are a bunch of employees who are in the kitchen getting the food ready, and in the cafeteria area processing the kids through their purchase of the food, taking their money, or doing whatever accounting is necessary vis-a-vis things like the National School Lunch Program. But those employees in a self-operated district are clearly on the school district's payroll. The one other layer that, of course, is critical is the top, and on down to those folks we've just talked about. And that's the food service manager. They may be dietitians, they may have some background in nutrition, but they know how or want to attend to the question of how to feed the kids. And they're on the school's payroll. In other words, the same alignment doesn't have to be on the school's payroll. It could be on the outsider's payroll. They take those people onto their payroll. They provide this layer of management, and in that process have lifted the burden from the school district. School districts, I suppose, are tempted because they think maybe we shouldn't be in a business we don't know. 85% still haven't been tempted.
Right, and what are some of the I mean, you talked about the temptation. It's taking the burden off of a school district. There's a mandate that that the school food service has to break even, is that right? And do these companies make some kind of guarantee that that will happen? Why would I, as a business manager of a school district or as a person on a board of ed, want to choose a management company?
Well, the initial inspiration probably has to do with, gee, thinking that this is the thought of the business manager or even the superintendent. What do we know about food? These people are serving hot dogs in Yankee Stadium. They must know more about food than we do. So I guess we're going to be getting some experience and knowledge and professionalism that we can't pretend to have. So I think that's the first point at which they start looking about, one, lifting the burden, and two, believing that this outsourcing will get them some real expertise.
Okay.
Let's stick with that one word, expertise. We can talk about that.
Well, I do actually, that's one of the premises of the film. I mean, the people that I found when I went looking for models of really great school food were all chefs. And they had come in and worked in these self-operated school districts and been able to do wonderful things because they did have the expertise, they knew food. It seems to me the management companies know business, but not necessarily what's in the best interest of our kids, which is feeding them real whole food. And the chefs do know that.
And they know their business and they attend to their business. And those marching orders typically are, where's our bottom line? Let's talk about it every Friday for the rest of our lives, because that's the rhythm of American business.
And it seems to me maybe some of the school decision makers, as we talk about this whole philosophy of sustainability and a change in the way we source and prepare our food, the decision makers may not feel comfortable with that, and that's also why they might want to outsource it, that they're also fairly disconnected from their food, and so they don't feel like they're experts.
What is the expertise? And the cost of that expertise, because the other thing you'll want to know is the financial benefits of not spending all this extra money. It's considerable.
How do unions figure into that situation? Because I've also heard that as an argument for hiring a management company. Well, then we don't have to deal with the unions.
Unions. The one issue districts have had for having on their books those ladies in the front or in the kitchen, or those men, is that depending on the collective bargaining agreement at the district, those food workers may or may not be part of the union contract. I think in Weston, where I'm from, we speak of workers like that as non-certified. Teachers are certified. I'm not sure of the full distinction. And if non-certified folks, maybe they're the custodial staff, maybe they're library assistants, I'm not sure about all those boundaries. But if those folks are in the union benefits can run up the costs, the health benefits specifically. There's not much choice about workers' comp, and we are talking about health insurance all the time. The selling point that outsiders, the outside management companies, the food service management companies have in that regard is to say, without saying it, we can break the union. We will put those people on our payroll. We can just skin the cat differently, pay them their wage. Health insurance is their problem. So the cost of the labor will be less. That is not always the case. A lot of these non-certified workers are not in that union. There's an acronym for it, AFSCME. Transportation workers and cafeteria workers are often excluded from that collective bargaining agreement. So it's...
And that would vary district by district?
Yes, in Weston, our cafeteria workers are not in the union. So they're not entitled to health benefits in any event. So having an outsider in Weston, for example, won't save the town a nickel on employee costs.
And if we want to be ethical and look at the triple bottom line of a school food service business, we would want all of our employees to at least have the same basic benefits package in place anyway. I would hope.
Right.
Yeah.